Hubba hubba. Sounds great, doesn't it? Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. We're good. Okay. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Two important considerations. First of all, look around to see where the exits are in case you decide you want to leave in a hurry. And secondly, look around to see if there's anyone you do not recognize. And after services at the Oneg, back in the other end of the building at beyond Raskin Hall, in the Mirror Center, do go say hello and introduce yourself. And a welcome to everyone joining us online through our congregational live stream, live through our Temple website. Happy you joined us, however virtually. We hope you made occasion beforehand to download a copy of our satellite Siddur to keep you in orbit participating in service. I will point out as a reminder that 2 weeks from tonight on the 22nd, we will not be having our live stream. We're reconfiguring services that weekend at the other end of the building. We don't have equipment available, but we're here tonight. Next week, we look forward to seeing you then as well. For those in-house, let's open in our prayer books. Because Cantor Jacobson is away on a well-earned vacation after the high holiday season, she's visiting in D.C. with Leah, that means you're doing the music tonight. You're stuck with me. Now, the last time the Cantor was on vacation, one of our congregational leaders, who shall remain nameless, taunted me for using unfamiliar melodies, saying, when the cat's away, the mice will play. It has nothing to do with that. I don't really know our melodies. I just give the cantor the key and she does the music. She's from Juilliard, for God's sake. I had 6 weeks of Arthur Murray. Then I found out that's dance, not music. So tonight we're going to stretch the horizon a little bit simply because I can't necessarily remember what melodies we use on an ongoing basis if I don't have to sing it. So we'll do a couple of things that may be vaguely unfamiliar, but I promise will be accessible. The guarantee is this, quid pro quo. I need to have all of you jump in and sing along and help. Can I count on you? Say yes, Rabbi. Yes. Good answer. Let's open in our prayer books. Those who have the satellite Siddur, you're right up front on page 1. In-house, page 121. And Mary Pinto, would you honor us, please, sweet lady, by coming forth to bench licht and make it Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotah, v'tzivanu v'chadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find the knowledge on which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hails us with mitzvah, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav etzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Everyone turn to the person closest to you didn't come with and smile and say Shabbat Shalom. And you remember the TV series The Virginian, James Drury? The book was better. Bottom of page 128. I ask about the Virginian because the cantor will occasionally do Shabbat HaMalkah, beautiful, poetic, Shabbat, restful setting for this beautiful poem by Chaim Nachman Bialik, the poet laureate of Israel. And yet there's other settings, and I said, let's kick off Shabbat with a little vibrancy. And this reminds me always of the theme song to the Virginian. First two lines are the chorus we're going to repeat. So if you never heard it before, hum along. By the third time around, you'll have it. Hachama merosh ha'ilanot nistalka bo v'netzeh likrat Shabbat ha'malka. That line again. Bo v'netzeh likrat Shabbat ha'malka. Each line is a chorus, a verse. Hinei yoredet hakdosha. Hinei yoredet habrucha. First two lines. Hachama merosh ha'ilanot nistalka bo v'netzeh likrat Shabbat ha'malka bo v'netzeh likrat Shabbat ha'malka. Ve'im amalachim tzva shalom u'menucha. Ve'im amalachim tzva shalom u'menucha. Hachama merosh ha'ilanot nistalka bo v'netzeh likrat Shabbat ha'malka bo v'netzeh likrat Shabbat ha'malka. Boi ha'malka boi ha'kala ha'chama merosh ha'ilanot nistalka bo v'netzeh likrat Shabbat ha'malka bo v'netzeh likrat Shabbat ha'malka. Shalom aleichem malachei hashalom. Shalom aleichem malachei hashalom. Your last chance on the first two lines. You sing it. Hachama merosh ha'ilanot nistalka bo v'netzeh likrat Shabbat ha'malka bo v'netzeh likrat Shabbat. Big finish. Ha'malka. Who wants to hear the Rebbitzin sing? Oh my God, no one wants to hear the Rebbitzin sing? Who wants to hear the Rebbitzin sing? All right, she's going to come up, still on page 128, but this time at the top of the page. Let's pretend we're at summer camp. Anything I sing, you sing back to me. Hine, Matov, Uma, Naim, Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov uma naim. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov uma naim. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov uma naim. Deep in the heart of Texas. Hine matov uma naim. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov uma naim. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hooray for you. Page 142. Now, your beloved Rebbitzin is Romanian, but tonight we're going Iraqi. Slide in. You're on tap. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barachuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
It's a service.
Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry, we're being dignified. We're like OMG, like so spiritual. Chatzi Kaddish on page 144 is always the transition from the Kabbalat Shabbat, the preliminary singing that warms us up and gets us on track and lubricates the spirit. Chatzi Kaddish is the lamp pole that we grab hold of to swing around and change directions to a new part of the service. Page 144. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbo, b'amad divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yom mechon, uv'chaye dechol bet Yisrael, ba'gala, uv'izman kari v'himeru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach, la'olam la'ol me'ol maya, Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitbar, v'yitruam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yitale, v'yithalal, shemei kodesha, brichu, leila min kol birchata, v'shihirata, tush bechata, v'nechemata, damiran v'alma, v'imeru, amen. We rise for the call to worship, page 146. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Leolam Vahid. Even as we rise out of respect when the judge enters a courtroom, when the king enters a throne room to hold court, so can we, having officially begun our service, resume our seats once more as we continue in preparation for the Shema. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim. Praise to you, eternal God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. Let's conclude our poem prayer together. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. And you, eternal eye, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai ha'mahariv aravim. On the next page, the second prayer in preparation for the Shema. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah, For me, did you mean the struggle for me as well? Let's conclude together. Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael. Adonai Eloheinu. Adonai echad. Baruch Shem kevod. Malchuto. Leolam vod. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi nitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinamtam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha v'lechtecha b'derech v'shochbecha v'kumecha v'kshartam neot hayadecha Vayulatot afot beinenecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. Namahan tizkeru vasiptem mit kol mitzvotai, vitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeti etchem meretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Geulah, page 157. Emet v'manoah kol zot v'kayam la'ad, standing at this present moment between past and what is yet to come, here on the parted shores of history. We believe still what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, Mitzrayim, a place of narrowness and constraint, that there is always a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there, let's say it in unison, except by joining hands and marching together. Mitzrayim galtzaranu Eloheinu, beit avadim v'ritonu, al zot shibechu ahuvim v'romamu el, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, Osef ele, nora tehilot, Osef ele, malchutecha rahuvamnecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe, zelianu ve'amaru, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, le'olam vo'ed. ונאמר כי פרעונת יעקב גלום יד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. And let us say amen. A bedtime prayer. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ותקננו בעצה טובה מלכו נפש יהינו למען שמך והגן בעדנו. Let there be love and understanding among us, that peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. We have prayed together as a bedtime benediction to one another. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting. Baruch atah Adonai, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, עוד היא לעולם, עוד היא לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ובאין ושבי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו bnei Israel et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Page 164 in our prayer book. Satellite Sidur, you're right on target after Vishamru. We're going to take a moment now to turn inward and outward as well as upward, because we're anchored to the ground, can't get any lower and have to start from here. Turning inward, introspection, the Cheshbon HaNefesh in which we were involved for the 52 days of the New Year season, from Rosh Chodesh Elul right through to Simchat Torah, and especially during the 10 days of repentance. Cheshbon HaNefesh, an inventory of our own souls. Turning outward, to build community, starting with the folks right alongside that said Shabbat Shalom earlier, and to whom we'll be returning that blessing later. And to everyone else in this room and beyond it, for all of our country. And turning upward to God, in whose image all of us are made. Let us rise together as before we take a step virtually apart from one another, let us proclaim in unison with one another the words of the psalmist, Adonai svatai tiftach ufi agid tilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Shalom bimromav, Uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, amen. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Having come back together in song, and yeah, we like to get up and pounding and jump in the aisles on that one sometimes, but we're easing the clutch out for Shabbat here and need to stay restful for the moment. More painful and difficult considerations developing this week for our people all over the earth, especially in Europe yesterday. El Al offered a free return flight home on a variety of flights today for anyone deciding to cut their vacation short and come home to Tel Aviv from Amsterdam. Not that it much matters much, because in Amsterdam you had an off chance of getting knifed in a race riot last night at the soccer match, whereas in the area around Tel Aviv, up and down the coast, continues to be at least 100 rockets falling every day from the neighbors who persist in attacking and trying to kill anyone they can inside the state of Israel. Mishaberach Kadnotenu, Uyavarech et Chayalei Tzava Haganal Yisrael Haomdim al Mishmar Artsenu V'Arei Eloheinu Migvul Halvanon V'ad Midbar Mitzrayim Min Hayam Agadol Ad Lavo Harava V'Yavasha V'Aviru V'Yam Yiten Adonai et Oivenu Hakamim Aleinu Nikafim Lifnehem HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishmor V'Yatziel et Kol Chayaleinu Mikol Tzara V'Tzukah Mikol Nega V'Machala Mishelach V'Racha V'Atzlacha B'Chol Maaseh Yedehem Yad Ber Son'enu Tachtehem V'Yitareim B'Keter Yeshua V'Ater Nitzachon V'Kuyam Bahem HaKatuv Ki Adonai Elohechem Ha'olech Imachem Nilachem Lachem Im Oivechem L'Hoshia Etchem. May the one who blessed our forebears bless the warriors of the Israel Defense Forces who continue to stand guard over our land and the cities of our God, from the border of the Lebanon to the desert of Egypt, from the great sea to the approach of the Arava, on the land, air, and sea. May the Almighty cause the enemies who rise up to destroy the Jewish people to be struck down before our warriors. May the Holy and Blessed One preserve and rescue them from every trouble and distress, from every plague and illness, sending blessing and success in their every endeavor. May God lead our enemies under our soldiers' sway, granting them salvation and crowning them with an honorable victory. And may there be fulfilled for them the verse, "For it is the Lord your God who goes with you to battle your enemies for you to save you." No one wants to second the motion. Thank you. And on behalf of the hostages dead and alive for whom they continue to battle to bring home, Achenu kol Beit Yisrael הנתנים בצרה ושבייה, העומדים בין בים ובין ביבשה, המקום ירחם עליהם ויוציאם מצרה לרווחה, מאפלה לאורה, ומשעבוד לגאולה, השתה ועגלה וזמן קריב ונאמר. And for our brothers and sisters of the household of Israel who still remain in distress and captivity, whether on sea or land, may God have compassion on them and bring them from distress to relief, from darkness to light, from servitude to redemption, soon and in our day, and let us say. Amen. And we offer prayers for healing as well for members of our congregation and their friends and kinfolk for whom our prayers have been asked. For Leah Jacobson, Joan Thompson, Bert Posner, Freda Rosef, Roberta Schwartz, Jane Barron, Joanne Blau, Maxine Brenner, Shirley Posner, Larry Satcher, Ron Dwaron, Robert D'Onofrio, Morgan Frazier, John Vernon, Jill Birch, Kayla Monasterio, Julie Fitzgerald, Susan Donahue, Margaret Gallivan, Ruth Ann Ludolph, Pamela Michelle, Gary Singer, Marion Mulligan, Peter Giori, Linda Gagnon, Christy Raymond, Phil Fournier, Cindy Mattern, Eileen Schramm. Anyone have additional names to offer? Please call out now to our list, John. And for those at home watching, we're not above calling out a bad call to the umpire. You be sure to call out a good call to us for those in need of healing, and however virtually we will receive it on this end. As for all of them, we share together our prayer for healing. Sorry, Johnny, I got to give you the cue and the key, but we'll do it. Yes, together. I'm counting on you. There's your note. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say amen. Yeah, we got a singing congregation, but on the rare occasion I'm filling in for my pulpit partner, you got to let me start because she's a soprano, I'm a baritone. So you notice everything is a half octave lower? All right, let's see what's next. As important to see who's next. John Righteous, the righteous dude. Happy to have you and Miss June back in the neighborhood. Welcome down south, dude. If you'd honor us by coming forth, introduce and help us lead our kiddush this evening. Those who'd like to follow along, satellite Siddur, you're at the bottom of page 8. In-house in the big book, we're on page 123.
On this seventh day, it's created to our eternal God. On Shabbat, eternal side of creation, we remember that we are created in the divine image. We therefore raise the cup in thanksgiving. Let's read together in the middle of the page. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodesho b'ahava v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron le'maseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta, v'otanu kiddashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, b'ahava uv'ratzon, hinechaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. John, you up for doing a little light surgery while you're up front?
Certainly.
If you'd slide around to the front of the table and start carving off pieces of challah. Anyone that had a birthday or anniversary this week, or is visiting us for the first or most recent time, or just wants a nosh and wants to try out our island halaman, come, get a slice. Come on. John will take care of you. Front and center, dudes. Come on. Nobody goes hungry in our shul. We don't want you to have to hold out to the cookies later on. Get a slice of challah to hold you over.
Okay, I'll do that.
Wait a minute. Are you letting them cater for you?
I make everybody. I cut the bread.
That's all right. Don't let me shame you into submission. Heather's going to come by with a basket and give you in-flight service. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Take a piece, please. Okay? Want me to cut something up for the basket?
Yeah, go ahead and reach and grab a piece. Just watch that knife. John's getting a little dangerous there.
I'm watching you, John. They'll tear it off, John.
Watch me carefully.
I am. Thank you, John.
Arthur, what a delight to see you back in our midst after a hiatus. Shalom Aleichem. I'm particularly proud you wore your service cap for this Veterans Day weekend, and Mary, yours as well. I got my chaplain's pin. Well, actually, it isn't actually my chaplain's pin. Go ahead, ask. Why not?
Yeah.
Because I was auxiliary chaplain with the 7th Light Infantry for 3.5 years. My Army insignia was brass with Roman numerals. I swapped with a friend who was a retired Air Force chaplain because it's Hebrew letters instead of Roman numerals, and I thought the blue and silver looks better with my Shabbat suit. So kudos to our veterans, whether you're in uniform, however symbolically or not. Happy to have everyone here this evening. Oh, there's so many things that we could talk about. So many things we need to talk about. So many things that we realistically can't talk about and shouldn't. Because this is our shared space for all of us. But I do need to have a frank talk this evening about an equally frank confluence. Tomorrow, November 9th, commemorates Kristallnacht. The pogrom, the race riot in 1938, in which every synagogue in Germany, Austria, and Western Czechoslovakia was burned to the ground in a single night, where 3,000 previously selected wealthy Jewish businessmen were arrested and sent to concentration camps till their families liquidated their assets to bail them out. Largely providing the means and the resources financially for the Germans to go into war equipment to launch World War II in August 1939, September 1st, the invasion of Poland. Tomorrow is Kristallnacht, a painful commemoration of a vicious race riot enacted by fascism. Monday is Veterans Day, marking and commemorating the service of those men and women who have laid their lives on the line and come home, injured in body and spirit in many cases. Carol is, amongst other things in her practice, a contractor with the military as well as the police for the specialized PTSD of those who came home without a scratch on them but changed forever. November 11th marks, especially for our oldest congregants, their part that they played in the global struggle against fascism during the Second World War. And there's our confluence. November 9th, Kristallnacht, launched by fascism. Veterans Day, World War II, to oppose fascism. And last Tuesday, Election Day, in which a critical mass of our fellow citizens, for a variety of reasons, endorsed a jarring vision, including measures of hostility and exclusion, that broaches the compelling question of, depending on your particular viewpoint and what the next 4 years bring, whether we see a glorious rebirth of this magnificent republic or an ignoble end to the experiment of democracy. We didn't know each other very well for the election 8 years ago. I just started here in January, and of course was gone for the summer season, back for the high holidays. So for the election in 2016, I had a moral obligation to address the problem that Friday night, that in the wee hours of Wednesday morning, swastikas appeared like toadstools on the lawn, spray painted on Jewish homes and businesses all over this country. And because we didn't know each other well yet, we didn't have a lot of track record at that point. There were a few members of this congregation who read my concern that that particular extremist cohort of bigots seemed to have liked this candidate and seen his election as a validation of their principles, as somehow meaning that the candidate himself endorses and entertains those opinions. Or worse, that people who voted for him are themselves bigots. Ask me why that was wonderful. Because our president, being attuned, as presidents tend to be, to what people are talking about, gave me the names of 5 of our congregants that either directly or indirectly had got back to her were unhappy with my remarks, so that I could approach them, hear what they had to say, make sure that they knew and understood what it was that I had said, so we can understand and value each better, that I could take responsibility for their feelings and let them feel listened to and cared about and reassured. And in fact, of those 5 people, I'm very close friends with 4 of them now because that layer of trust was built in from the ground up. The resultant conversation built relationships. With which said, let us acknowledge that regardless of what your political affiliation is or how you personally voted last Tuesday or in any of the early voting going in, we have had to confront, and insofar as we can in this shared setting common to us all, this safe space, over the last several years, the legitimate concern for Jews. When the anti-Semitism, the blatant Jew hatred, the philosophical and political commitment to enmity towards our people and our faith is far more widespread and far more toxic in the far right than it has ever been in the far left. When so many components of the platform being pushed in this campaign were at odds with the economic, social, and environmental convictions of 4 out of 5 Jews in this country. One of my classmates in seminary is the rabbi of Stephen Miller, and he revoked his bar mitzvah. That's our comic relief tonight. There's no denying a legitimate source of concern for Jews when the campaign rhetoric painted a target on every Jew in this country, regardless of which way the election went. There's no denying a legitimate source of concern for Jews when the right-wing swing across the country that incidentally manifested in the election results is fueled by the ideological Jew hatred of so many grassroots organizations. Let's acknowledge that in 2016, swastikas blossomed on the lawns like toadstools the morning after the election, and let's own that in this election of 2024, the swastikas were already on display up front. Last month in a boat parade up in our neighborhood, West Palm Beach, among the many people flying campaign flags, there was one that had 2 huge red Nazi banners with a black swastika in the middle. The passengers of the boat extending a fascist salute. And they changed the campaign slogan of the candidate for the GOP. Their banner said, "Make America white again." That reflects a dishonor on the candidate, his party, and his cause. And I must emphasize, and now do so, that one incident of that one extreme individual does not paint our neighbors with the same broad brush. Last week, dropping by the chili cook-off that our crew was there representing the congregation, showing our flag, one of the many yacht owners here amongst our neighbors had plastered his boat in the marina with huge banners promoting the GOP candidate, including a banner that said, "Vote for him, keep America great." This I admire and respect. I find encouragement in the insistence of our noble neighbors that this great country never stopped being great. Didn't have its greatness stripped from it, doesn't have to have the greatness restored. And yet, how disheartening when we've seen, not in the election results, but in the interviews with people of why they voted the way they did, the triumph of ignorance. BBC News Wednesday morning did an interview with a young woman who's announced proudly, this is the second time she's had an opportunity to vote for a presidential election, who voted GOP, not because of her commitment to Republican ideology, but because she agreed with the then candidate, now president-elect, that you shouldn't be doing post-birth abortions. There's no such thing as a post-birth abortion. How disheartening to see kind and compassionate people who are dear friends of ours respond to some of the more hostile dog whistles of the campaign, the name-calling and cat-calling. How disheartening to see mensches of our acquaintance endorse agendas of divisiveness and intolerance, belying our shared national pledge to liberty and justice for all. Several of my clergy colleagues across the religious spectrum have weighed in during the downhill half of the week. One of my Protestant colleagues said, the American people are like Esau in the Torah, who sold his birthright to his brother for a bowl of pottage. The birthright of constitutional norms sold for the promise of lower prices for gas and groceries. One of my Catholic colleagues reported himself to be stunned and appalled that a free people would make this kind of choice. And one of my colleagues said, I don't recognize this country anymore. I wasn't going to call him on that because I can't tell him what he believes, what he feels, what he thinks. But it got me thinking, I don't recognize this country anymore? Well, that's Debbie Friedman. Did you like that seamless transition? Anyone get a whiplash? This week's Torah portion, Lech Lecha, the third parasha in the Torah, God summons Abraham to leave his homeland, his family, and go forth to an undetermined destination to follow God. And Debbie Friedman's spin on this is a song, Lech Lecha, to a land that I will show you. God doesn't say what it is. Lechi lach, to a place you do not know. My colleague says, I don't recognize this country anymore. Lech lecha, to a place you do not know. And then there's a third line, in the midst of all that uncertainty. Lech lecha, on your journey, I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. Dear friends, we are at this moment in a place we did not know. Proponents of, registered members of, advocates for the one party, whose candidate got a majority of both popular and electoral college votes, may be rejoicing, they may be stunned, they may be unsure of what happens next. Those numerous people of the Democratic Party and the dozens of independent and others whose candidates ran, committed citizens, patriots, offering their leadership to their fellow Americans, and who got anywhere from 1 to 10,000 votes, splinters of the tree, all also uncertain. Friends, we are all in a place we do not know. And rather than grieving and mourning, rather than rejoicing and high-fiving, the next 73 days and the 4 years after that will be our shared journey as Americans through that undiscovered country. Our focus, therefore, has to be on the title of the portion, the first two words God addresses to Abraham, Lech Lecha, Hebrew grammar lesson. Lech means go, but Lecha is a prepositional phrase. It's a reflexive. It means literally go for yourself, for your own advantage. Here, buy this lottery ticket for yourself. But Lecha also means go to yourself. I focused on this Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur season on the idea of our own self-actualization. Well, this journey over the next 73 days and 4 years is our Lech Lecha journey of self-actualization and self-discovery for us as a nation, for us as a we, the people, first person plural. And as for the remaining part of God's promise to Abraham, how we walk these next 73 days until the inauguration, and how we walk hand in hand with each other as Americans across party and political and geographical lines over the next 4 years will determine whether, like Abraham, we Americans as a nation merit being a blessing to the world. My colleague, Rabbi Tracy Kaplowitz, a retired military chaplain, shared this observation about the election results. We can never conflate choice with 100% of alignment. Rather, we honor our country's commitment to democracy. We fight together to maintain it when it is threatened. And we lead the way in bringing our communities together for our common good. Friends, on this Shabbat between Kristallnacht and Veterans Day, I invoke this benediction. God bless America and the noble and imaginative and compassionate people of every party who together make it a great nation. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Greetings from our Board of Directors and a few announcements. I welcome visitors worshiping with us tonight, and I invite you to stay on hand for the Oneg Shabbat following services. Cantor Harry Jacobson is away on vacation until the 20th, so Rabbi Gross will be conducting pulpit music and with the assistance of our worshipers and our singing. Tonight's Oneg was coordinated by Mary Pinto, Mitch Braun, Bob Jarras, Joanne Blau, Sandra Heckler, Linda Reitzes, Robin Singer, and Beth Weinberg. Our Oneg is sponsored by Mitch Braun and Bob Jarras in honor of their 9th wedding anniversary and Bob's 69th birthday. Our lovely flowers are also sponsored by Mitch Braun and Bob Jarras in honor of their 9th wedding anniversary and Bob's 69th birthday, and also by the Alter and Ananglio family in memory of Stephen M. Alter. Current details of everything going on in congregational life can be found at our website, in our monthly newsletter, The Messenger, and in the semi-weekly email notifications we send out to membership. Tonight, I'll remind everyone, the 2025 Concerts and Film Festival are now available for purchase on our website. We have a great lineup. Monday Night Bingo has returned every Monday night. Doors open at 5:30. Anthony Pinto Jr.'s honey is on sale at the office for $15. A portion of the sale goes to the temple. Bubby's Bakery will be Sunday, November 24th. The Women's Book Club 24-25 schedule is on our website, and the office is selling memorial candles if you need any. Do not forget to bring in food for the community for those who are less fortunate when you come on Fridays, or leave a donation in the tzedakah box. And now, as we move to conclusion of tonight's worship service, I invite to the Bema our final honorees, Bob and Mitch. Let us please reopen our prayer books to page 586 and rise together for Elena.
Bottom of page 586. Aleinu l'shabech l'Adon ha'kol, latet gedula liotzer b'reishit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. 588, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים. hu Eloheinu ein od. Emet malkeinu efes ulato, kakatuv betorato, v'yadata hayom v'ashedata hayom v'hashevota el levavecha. Adonai Elohim b'shamayim yivala v'aretz yem mitachat ein v'nema v'haya Adonai lamelech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad. Ushemo echad. Thank you, guys. I don't make you a deal. Since everyone likes to sit down for the closing song, promise me, raise your right hand and swear before me and God and the still open ark, you're going to sing. Okay, go ahead and sit down. I blush to confess, getting ready for tonight, I forgot to check this one for a key. Excellent. It's page 625. Page 625. Now, on the one hand, you know that you can sing Adon Olam to anything, right? Well, in honor of the Veterans Day weekend, we're going to be doing Over There by the great Jewish composer, George M. Cohen. Nobody wants to laugh at that. He was Irish. It's Cohen. All right, but here's the deal. You're going to have to skip the third verse because the way it's structured, it goes in blocks of two. Can I count on you? Yes. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem kol, Yitzir Nivra, Leit Nasa, B'chefso kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, V'yacharei, Kichlot HaKol, Levado Himaloch Neora, V'hu Haya, V'hu Hoveh, V'hu Tiyeh B'tifara. It's the... God, I blew it. I blew my own joke. Who's the Canadian songstress? Celine Dion. Key change for the second verse. No one's singing. Big finish. Beitishan va'ira. Ve'imruchi gaviyati Adonai liveni velo ira. Hey, yeah, I like the hey at the end. Thank you, John. Everyone, Shabbat Shalom. We'll try out another song fest next week to see if you're still up to par. And after that, I gratefully hand it back to the professional. Everyone turn to the person before. Yes? Oh, you people are such sticklers. You know the irony? The irony is that I was on the Kaddish page at the bottom of which you say, okay, closing song is in page 625. So I'm very impulsive that way. Well, you know, to a degree that's apt. Go ahead, ask me why. Because Kaddish, this doxology, this open-ended praise of God, originates in the Babylonian academies as the conclusion of every session of study and worship. So properly, once we've said Kaddish, we shouldn't be singing a closing song because this is the proverbial end of things. Kaddish Yitomim, page 598 in the Sidurim, and thank you all for keeping me honest. I got excited. Tribute on this Shabbat to Mickey Wolf and Edwin Tessel, whose families observe this Shabbat as a conclusion of the month of Shloshim. We name as well Harry Frank, Bessie Goldstein, Dora Kamenetz, David Kamenetz, Harry Kozlau, Betty Kramer, Elise Linz, Martha Miriam, Lena Mendelson, my great-grandmother, who brought us all over, Sandra Betten Missal, Matilda Panner, Jose Perez, Ruth Rovner, Herbert Rudnick, Martin Spiegel, Albert Stein, Marcia Stern, Leonard Sutker, Sidney S. Winehouse, Susan Poehler Weiss, the anniversaries of whose death were observed during the week now ending. And on this eve of Kristallnacht, we recall the 3,000 Jews arrested, the several hundred killed that night, and the 6 million that ensued. For all of them we proclaim, Zichronam livracha, may remembering them be always a blessing as for them, and because of them we together extol God's name. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועל מה דברך ירוצה וימליך מותה. וחייכון ויומכון, וחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ויזמן קריב ויאמרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם על מיה יתברך, וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעולם מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ויאמרו, אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו, עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו, 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 אמן, ואמרו, 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 amen. You remember the person that wished you Shabbat Shalom before? Give it back to them now. We'll see you guys for cookies in back.